Hello, good day. My name is Perla Lilian Contreras Juarez. I am a mechatronic engineer originally from Mexico. My username on EDX is Lilian Contreras and on GitHub as Lily Contreras. Today, in June 2025, it's an honor to present my final project for the Cybersecurity Introduction course of the CS50 program, taught by Professor David J. Malan at Harvard University. A few months ago, specifically on January 14 of this year, a critical vulnerability was identified, registered as CVE-2025-24472, which raised significant concern within the cybersecurity community, especially among affected Fortinet users. Investigating this vulnerability caught my interest not only because it relates to several concepts learned throughout the course, as a computation, security authentication, command injection, encryption, vulnerability identification, and VPNs, but also because what makes this vulnerability particularly concerning is that it exists in the very platforms many organizations use to protect themselves. In other words, the system that is supposed to secure the network ends up being the weak point that exposes the entire infrastructure. That makes it especially relevant and alarming. First, I will explain the affected technology. FortiOS, the operating system used by the cybersecurity company Fortinet to manage network devices, such as firewalls and VPNs, and FortiProxy, which is their solution for managing and filtering web traffic. The flaw CVE 2025-24472, reported to Fortinet by Sony from Washington, is an authentication bypass vulnerability via an alternate path or channel, CVE 288, that affects FortiOS versions 7.0 to 7.0.16 and FortiProxy versions 7.0 to 7.0.19 and 7.2.0 to 7.2.12. This means that due to a flaw in the way the system verifies identity, a remote attacker will gain super admin privileges without providing valid credentials. In other words, it allows unauthorized site access to the system, compromising the entire network protected by the firewall, enabling malware installation or even full control of the device. How does this exploit work? The vulnerability lies in the Central Security Fabric proxy function. If a device exposes its HTTPS administrative portal, a remote attacker who doesn't need VPN access, only the correct network path, can send a specially crafted HTTP request that tricks the device into thinking it's communicating with a trusted service. This causes the device to bypass authentication on certain requests, including critical administrative operations. As a result, attackers can perform actions with elevated privileges, such as creating new user accounts, modifying firewall rules, intercepting network traffic, deleting configuration, deploying malware or ransomware, and even accessing the SLVPN, granting them direct access to internal networks. The U.S. Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, confirming that the CVE 2025-24472 vulnerability has been actively exploited in ransomware campaigns. In March 2025, researchers from Foursquare Research Bedera Labs reported that between January and March, malicious actors exploited 214 vulnerabilities to deploy the SuperBlack malware. Experts attribute this campaign to a group identified as Mora-001, which used Russian language artifacts and displays a distinctive operational pattern. It's speculated that Mora-001 may be linked to the Lockbit ecosystem, reflecting the growing sophistication of ransomware operations. The group used the Lockbit builder to develop a custom encryptor, tracked by Foursquare under the name SuperBlack, which removes any visible reference to Lockbit. Meanwhile, a report by Threat Intelligence Print proved that warned that the killing ransomware group also known as Phantom Mantis, recently launched a coordinated intrusion campaign that affects multiple organizations between May and June of this year. In this case, initial access was gained through the exploitation of various vulnerabilities in Fortinet devices. Fortinet addressed this vulnerability by releasing security patches in January 2025. All system administrators were advised to update their device as soon as possible to mitigate any risk of exploitation. The patch versions are FortiOS 7.0.17 or higher, and FortiProxy 7.0.12 and 7.2.13 or higher. In addition to software updates, the following security measures are recommended. Restricted administrative access using access control lists or specific firewall configurations. Continuously monitor logs and network traffic for suspicious activity related to exploitation attempts. Implement multi-factor authentication to strengthen security for access to critical systems. Apply proper network segmentation, ensuring that security devices are not accessible from untrusted networks. Hiring administrator account security by using non-standard, hard-to-guess username and a strong password. Although Fortinet released patches for this vulnerability in January of the year, many organizations failed to apply them in time, making them accessible targets for cyber attackers. This case highlights the critical importance of applying security updates promptly, as well as continuously monitoring access and verifying the security of our tools, even those we consider trustworthy. The CVE 2025-24472 vulnerability is a powerful reminder that in cybersecurity, there is no room for blind trust. Even our more robust defense solutions can become attack vectors. Thank you very much for listening.